I gotta stop leaving my shirts inside out when I put them in the laundry pile because I washed this blue shirt thinking it was my Superman shirt, and instead I'm wearing this. Anyways, let's talk about Season 3. Season 3 of Invincible just wrapped up last night, and the finale was maybe the best episode of the entire series, and that's saying something. And Invincible has been around for quite a few years now. Season 1 came out 3-4 years ago now. Season 2 came out last year, but that was the mid-season break. And because of the downturn in hype and honestly, in my opinion, overall quality of Season 2, Season 3 needed to be a banger to bring this show back to the relevance and the status that it had before Season 2. And oh my god, did it deliver. Season 3 was incredible, man. I was looking back at the episode log because I didn't watch Season 2 when it came out. So when Season 3 started, I decided to binge Season 2 and what had already come out of Season 3. So the only episodes that I watched as they released of Season 3 were 6, 7, and 8. So the Powerplex episode, the Invincible War, and then this finale with Conquest. And that 3-episode run was incredible. To end a season on those 3 episodes, absolutely electric, man. We're gonna talk about what makes this season so good and what makes this show so good as a whole. But just to talk about those 3 episodes for a little bit, the emotional weight that they all carry, the uptick in animation that they all had compared to the rest of the season and in Season 2. Oh my god, and they're just so cool. On top of like how well written they are and how good they look, they're just so sick, man. The fight scenes are so cool. A lot of the action is creative, and it matters. All of the fights matter, which honestly, unfortunately, has become a running theme in a lot of superhero shows or animation in general. The fights look cool, but they don't matter that much. In Invincible, the fights matter. Anyway, so I watched Season 2, and honestly, I was a little disappointed by it. The animation was not great or even good. I talked about this in the Arcane video about how I was a little disappointed about that in Season 2. In Season 3, it ticks back up, and it ticks back up an extra step in the final 2 episodes specifically. And man, I'm all for that now. If the first 6.5 episodes have to look the way they look for the last episode and a half to look how they look, fine by me. They say that Season 4 is coming out next year, or they're teasing at that at least. If that has to be the formula to get these last couple episodes in the finale to look and be as good as they are, fine by me. Go for it. Speaking of the budget allocation, let's talk about the voice acting for a little bit, because a common talking point online about this show is that the animation budget is low, so they can keep the voice acting budget high. And that absolutely pays off. Steven Yeun is amazing as Invincible, and in the Invincible War episode, he's amazing as like 16 different versions of the same character, and they all sound somewhat unique, and he just does an amazing job at that. J.K. Simmons is amazing as Omni-Man still. Sandra Oh is great as Debbie, Mark's mom. Cecil's voice actor is great. Alan is great. Rex Splode's voice actor is great. It's hard to find a voice performance in this show that isn't great to amazing. Aaron Paul as Powerplex, holy shit. That's why you bring in like a top-level actor or a top-level voice actor. Because if Powerplex doesn't have the voice and the delivery that Aaron Paul gives him, that character and episode takes a turn for the worse. But his performance just, oh my god. I can't say enough good about that performance. And with the Jeffrey Dean Morgan performance as Conquest as well, people were questioning whether that was a good choice for Conquest online after the reveal at the end of episode 7. Yeah, dude, if you watched episode 8, you have no doubts about whether or not he was a good choice for Conquest. I've been kind of general and loose, unorganized with these thoughts so far because I wanted to make the first couple minutes of this video spoiler-free. But from here on out, I'm not going to hold back on anything spoilers for Invincible Season 3 and honestly the entire show. So if you haven't seen it yet and plan to watch it, go watch it. Click off now. Make sure to like the video and subscribe before you leave though. Just, maybe leave a comment too. Just why not? But from here on out, I'm going to be talking full spoilers about Invincible Season 3. So good luck. But yeah, Season 3 as a whole, incredible. You have the awesome fight moments and the character-driven combat moments like the Omni-Man and Alan versus the 2 Viltrumites with Battle Beast helping them out. That was just so sick, man. The Powerplex fights are great. the fight against the dragon, and I think episode 5 was really great. Even if that didn't advance the plot in a major way, it was more of a filler or transition or bridge episode. The fight and the action was still awesome. It was incredible to see Invincible fight a ginormous fucking dragon. That's sick. The one criticism I had about the fights in the previous seasons is that they overused the blood a little bit. Not that they had too much blood in one scene, but that they had scenes be incredibly bloody too frequently. Does that make sense? Like, for example, the Anissa fight in Season 2 doesn't need to be as bloody as it was when the next episode you have the final fight of the season against Angstrom Levy, which was really bloody, and that moment I think needed all that blood in the Season 2 finale. In Season 1, you could argue that the Battle Beast fight didn't need to be as bloody as it was. You could also say that, well, Battle Beast needs to be shown as like this unstoppable force, so yeah, let him beat the shit out of everybody. But especially when that was so soon to the finale of the super bloody Mark and Nolan fight. That was my one criticism of it. But in this season, in Season 3, I think that kind of gets fixed. And just the discrepancy in how bloody the fights are between the end of the season and the beginning, it is big, you know? The season starts off with them saying that Mark has gotten significantly stronger since Season 2 because they were training him super hard after Anissa essentially beat his ass. And they were like, Anissa beat his ass, and she said that there are going to be worse Viltrumites coming, so we need to get our only weapon for him ready. And he is stronger. He still loses a good amount in this season, which I know was another common joke about, well, Invincible sucks because the main character loses all his fights. He doesn't lose nearly as much in this season as he did before, and you do see, like, the beginning of that arc of him as a fighter, or the end of that arc of him as a fighter, or at least the beginning to an end is what I meant to say. Because, as you know, in Season 2, he kills Angstrom Levy, and in this season you see the turmoil of that, of he doesn't want to kill people, but he comes to terms with he has to. He doesn't kill the other version of Angstrom Levy in Invincible War, even though his new baby brother, Oliver, tells him to. He hesitates, doesn't happen, that Angstrom gets away. He doesn't kill the Maulers when he has a chance, but then Oliver kills the Maulers. And it all culminates in the finale when, during the absolutely brutal, entire episode-long Conquest fight, he ends it by headbutting him so hard that Conquest's skull splits open. Because Conquest had just, what Mark thought at least, Conquest just killed Adam Eve. He just almost killed Oliver, and he killed probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of people during the rest of the fight. Some people have to die. That's like a key point, a key theme of Invincible's growth as a fighter, is that he has to go all out on some people. And he finally did. And yeah, man, one of my best friends, he knows this show from the comics, so he knows vaguely what's going to happen next at all times. And even he said when they revealed Conquest after Invincible War that, yeah, this Conquest fight is going to be maybe the best fight they give. It's definitely going to be the best so far, and it might be one of the best they have in the whole series. And holy shit, he might have been even underselling it. That fight was incredible, man. It doesn't get better than that. Maybe this is just a me thing, but I love the quote-unquote flying brick fights. If you don't know, a flying brick is like a category of a superpowered person or a superhero, where it's literally just what it sounds like, a super durable person who has super strength that can fly. And that's what the Viltrumites are, right? It's not like Superman, where he's got laser vision and frost breath and x-ray vision and all that. Viltrumites are just ridiculously strong, ridiculously fast, ridiculously tough, and they can fly. And seeing them fight is so sick. But the best part about the fight, and again, this is why you get Jeffrey Dean Morgan to play Conquest. This is why you get like a big actor or a big voice actor to do this. The scene where Conquest thought he had Mark killed and is pinning him in the crater, and he leans down and whispers, "I'm so lonely," and goes on that whole speech. Oh my god, that's so good. That's such good writing. That's such good character development. That's such a good peek into what Viltrumites can be, because Conquest is supposed to be like this guy that they send after planets that they deem a lost cause, right? He even says at the start of the episode, they only send me when they need someone to whoop ass and get something done. And even in that same speech, he says, "My name is Conquest. I don't get a name, only my purpose." And he's breaking down Mark this entire speech of how he's so lonely, but the better he gets at the job they give him, the more scared people are of him and the more lonely he becomes. And that only drives him further because it makes him angrier, it makes him want to fight more. Holy shit, that's so good, man. I can't overestimate how good that mini monologue he gave to Mark was. And then at the end he says, "Take it to your grave." Kind of revealing that he says this to all his countless victims that he's killed during his possibly thousands of years doing this job of just like mini conqueror. And then Mark beats his ass after that. Now, they reveal at the end of the episode that Conquest isn't quite dead. Cecil buried him in a massive tungsten pile under the ground and says when he wakes up, we're either going to explode him if he tries to kill any of us, or we're going to ask him everything about the Viltrumite Empire. This is a good transition, I think, into Cecil's role in this season. There's a lot of talk early in the season about, is Cecil doing the right thing? Especially when the whole thing was revealed about how Mark had the thing in his ear that Cecil could trigger, and it, like, stuns Mark, basically. I think Cecil was proven right, it seems like, to me at least, because, I mean, he was making anti-Viltrumite weaponry and technology in the beginning of the season, between the sound-deafening thing that he put in Mark, between the Reanimen and letting Darkwing into the Guardians, and then what happens at the end of the season, 16 more Invincibles from alternate universes come in and whoop ass all over the Earth, and then just when they think they beat that, fucking Conquest comes in and wrecks the parts of the Earth that the Invincible War didn't level, right? So I think Cecil was right. He just went about it in the wrong way. That's my take on it. Not a major point at the end of the season, because honestly, even if they had the technology that stunned Mark in a hallway, what the fuck was that going to do against Conquest, man? Conquest, he was too strong for anybody. Mark only beat him because he was completely like outwilled and hard bloodlusted. And honestly, he caught Conquest by surprise a few times. But that's my take on the Cecil thing. What else is there to really touch on in this season? The Adam Eve stuff was great. I think the development between Mark and Eve was really good, especially in the later half of the season where they're like starting to build a life together. You know, they're trying to move out. They're trying to like start this business where Invincible was like a bodyguard. That part only lasted for like an episode and a half, and then at the end you get the great scene of Eve dies, right? Conquest pretty much kills her. Mark thinks he kills her. And that leads Mark to go crazy, but then Eve comes back to life. Not comes back to life, but like saves herself from dying because her mental blocks for her powers that they talked about in the Adam Eve TV special, they come out because of the trauma, and she's able to repair herself and honestly kind of kick Conquest's ass for a little bit, and that gives Mark some more time. But there's that amazing scene after the Conquest fight where Eve is laying there pretty much knocked out, and Mark is laying there slowly bleeding out, and they're just looking at each other, and their bodies are like curved around in a circle kind of, and they're like trying to whisper to each other as they pass out, and it's so good. You know, it showed like how much they've grown to care about each other even more over this season. And honestly, Conquest himself drives that a little bit. When Mark is laying over Eve's dying body before that scene, Conquest says, well, I know you got something to say, so say it now. She's gonna die. And then eventually they do say it in the hospital. They say I love you to each other. It's a nice little touching moment. It's really sweet. I think they say it at the funeral, actually, which we're going to talk about the funeral in a second. But it's a great touching moment between the two, and then they have their scene at the end, you know, and it's a great piece of development for the two of them to have, and I think that relationship going forward is going to be hopefully a strong part of the show, or at least a strong core behind it. But speaking of the funeral, towards the end of episode 7, Rexplode sacrifices himself to kill one of the Invincible variants. Man, Rex was such a good character in this season too, and that's what makes the death even more heartbreaking, that is the intended effect. This guy who, when we started watching the show, was this complete selfish dickhead, right? Ironically enough, dickhead, who is just an asshole in like every way. Every opportunity that we get to see him, he's just a total dick. And I'm a little disappointed in myself that I didn't see it coming as someone who loves to write stories, that in the beginning of season 3, all of a sudden he's getting more screen time. All of a sudden he's like really close with the main character. All of a sudden he's getting a new love interest that goes so much better than his past relationships, you know. All of a sudden we're getting more about his backstory and more about his true emotions and the cores of his character. Yeah, man, whenever a side character does that, they're probably gonna fucking die. And he did. But he died in such a badass way. He blew up his entire goddamn skeleton, to quote him himself, and he killed an Invincible because of it. He saved Rudy, whose name is now Rex. I wanted to talk about that also. Rudy changing his name to Rex at the funeral because he wants to honor his friend and the guy who gave him the DNA to make his human boy body. That sat a little weird with me. Maybe it'll grow on me. But honestly, that just sat kind of strange with me. Is like, it's going to be more confusing than anything to call this little kid Rex after we've been calling a different character Rex for 3 whole seasons, you know? It's going to be a weird adjustment, but I'm sure we'll get used to it, or it'll change. They'll call him something else. But it is what it is. It's a cool way to honor his friend, I think. But yeah, that's the only thing about the finale that sat like kind of, that's weird with me. Yeah, Rex has an amazing arc in this season. Him, Ray, Rudy, and Monster Girl leave the Guardians after what Cecil did. So does Bulletproof, I think his name is, right? That was a great scene about them trying to go on their own and live back in the Teen Team headquarters on top of the bridge. That was a sick moment. The romance between Ray and Rex, for the little points that we got, it was really good, honestly. I was looking forward to that continuing, but fuck me, I guess not. The moments between Rudy and Monster Girl were cool too. There was a lot of like mini romance stuff in this season, and obviously the core of it is Mark and Eve, but I think a lot of it worked really well. What else? The ramifications for next season. So at the end of episode 8, there was a lot of teasers for what's going to come next. I already talked about the Conquest thing, where Cecil's keeping Conquest. But then they showed the Sequids in the sewers again, so there's going to be another Sequid fight. And then at the end, in like the post-credit scene, they showed like the Damien Darkblood return, which apparently does not happen in the comics. I've seen a lot of people in comment sections talking about how this is going to be a show-exclusive storyline, and how they might even be taking a break from Viltrumites in Season 4. I don't know how I feel about that, because to me, the Viltrumite stuff and the hard-hitting, like, super fight stuff is the most interesting part of the show for me, or at least it's the part that I look forward to the most. And it'll be interesting to see what they do for a full season if they do take a break from the Viltrumite stuff. I know there's other stuff in the comics that happens that isn't entirely related to the Viltrumites. I've been loosely spoiled, but not hard spoiled. Like, I know the Viltrum War should happen relatively soon, and I know what happens vaguely after that, and I know who Thrag is and what he does and why he's a fucking terrifying, obviously. But outside of that, I don't know too much specifics. I know Robot Rudy does something bad. Maybe that'll be next season. I'm not too sure, but next season I'm excited for. Obviously, I'm super excited for, because this season was so good. It's got me fully back into the show. But if they are taking a break from Viltrumites entirely, that might slow me down a little bit. But at the same time, if it is like a show-exclusive arc involving the demons and Damien Darkblood, then yeah, I'm going to give it a chance. It's not like I'm not going to watch it because there's no Viltrumites. The show has 100% earned the right to like get leeway in its storytelling if it's telling a story that it hasn't been told already, you know what I mean? Overall, the season's incredible. Is the animation perfect? No. But the writing is so great. The voice acting is so great. Just the general stories and the character elements are so good, and the action is so sick that it passes the rule of cool without even looking that amazing. And they do turn up the animation in episode 8 also. There's scenes where Mark's hair is blowing in the wind. Conquest's movement is so much more fluid. Whenever he throws a punch, windows around him shatter. That looks so cool. Adam Eve's movements and powers looked a lot cooler in the last episode. And even in Invincible War, the animation was so much cooler. Like the fight between Mark and Angstrom for the second time, before Mark is supposed to kill him, Oliver tells him to kill him, all that. At the end of episode 7, that looked great also. So the show turns up when it needs to. If that continues to be the formula, and I know Season 3 is going to make money. There's no way Season 3 is not going to make more money than Season 2. So if that continues to be the formula, pay for these big-time voice actors. You know, get the Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Conquest level of voice acting. 100%. Get the Aaron Paul as Powerplex level of voice acting in here. And then save a little bit of the animation budget throughout the season to go all out for these final couple episodes. Yeah, dude, that's amazing. Like, not everything has to look like Arcane. I know I made that video. Arcane looks better than almost anything except for the Spider-Verse movies. Not everything has to look like that. Invincible has every single element of one of the best shows ever made. I'll say that, especially season 3. Season 3 is one of the singular best episodes, or singular best seasons of not only television, but superhero media in general. It's that good. If you haven't watched it and you're for whatever reason watching this video, it is worth watching it even if you know what happens. I mean that without doubt. It's on Amazon. If you have Amazon, watch it. It is so good. I cannot say enough about how good season 3 was and how it excites me about this kind of media and this genre and this universe in general. Genuinely, it's so good. I might try and just read the comics before season 4 comes out. That's how good this shit is, man. It's amazing. My overall thoughts on the show is that season 1 is great. Season 2 is like good to alright. Season 3 is great to like elite, man. I think it's better than season 1 after this finale. And I think this is in conversations with like the best superhero media of all time. That's how good this is. I'm so happy that we're getting this early into the year, that this year is already producing so much cool shit. But yeah, that's my thoughts on Invincible. If you guys have anything to say or any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'd love to know your thoughts too, because this is just something I've been thinking about for the last couple weeks, and especially since the finale last night. I stayed up until midnight to watch the finale. That was really cool. I don't do that for many things, but I was that excited about this Conquest fight. It had been hyped up so much that I stayed up till midnight to watch it, and holy shit, was it worth it. I'm glad I did. But yeah, you should watch the show if you don't. I think it's incredible. If you think it's incredible, or if you think it's turbo dog shit, leave it in the comments below. Leave a like, subscribe if you want. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.